We're at the start of March and many herds and flocks have already started calving and lambing, or if they've not yet, they're about to do so. So I hope the weather remains favourable for you. At this time of year, it's important to remember 3 key things to ensure your calves and lambs get off to the best start in life. So we want a clean environment, we want good colostrum intake, and we want navels to be treated. At this time of year, through our post-mortem rooms, every year we'll see lambs and calves that have died because they've picked up infection in the first few hours of life, very often from a calving pen or from a lambing pen. So it's really important to do everything we can to make sure these are as clean and as dry as possible. Many of the losses early on in life will be due to diarrhoea, due to scour, from agents such as rotavirus or crypto or maybe salmonella or E. coli. Now these are bugs that perhaps cows and sheep are carrying and not showing any obvious signs of disease, but if calves or lambs get these and they've got no immunity, then they're going to succumb to infection very quickly. All of these sorts of bugs are spread from the faeces and acquired in through the mouth. So we want to make sure that the calving pens, the lambing pens are clean as dry as possible, plentiful dry straw, and make sure that the teats of cows and ewes are as clean as they can be as well. If we minimise the challenge, hopefully we'll minimise the risk of scour to these calves and lambs. We know that colostrum is gold, and we know that lambs and calves are born with no antibodies at all, and so that's why it's vital that they get colostrum from their mothers as soon as possible. So when it comes to colostrum, remember the 4 Qs of colostrum. So we want quality, quantity, quickly and quietly, and in addition to that, I'd add cleanly. So a rough rule of thumb would be that we want calves and lambs to receive about 10% of their body weight within the first 6 hours of life, because after that the gut starts to close off and the antibodies can't be absorbed any longer. It's possible for us to check the quality of colostrum that your cows and sheep are producing, so speak to your vet about getting a colostrum quality check. It's also possible for us to get blood samples from calves and lambs in the first week of life to see if they've absorbed enough of these antibodies. So even if everything looks okay, it's perhaps good to get a check just to see everything is in order. Quality of colostrum can be checked by your vet to see that it's suitable, to see that there are enough antibodies there. It's also possible to do a blood test to see that calves and lambs have absorbed enough of that colostrum. So if everything is going well, the blood test is a good peace of mind. Equally, if the blood test shows that insufficient antibodies have been absorbed, then hopefully it'll let you address that. If colostrum from the calf or lamb's own mother is not available, then speak to your vet about what the next best option would be. Chances are frozen colostrum from your own farm would be best, perhaps followed by colostrum from another farm, but you'd need to consider what disease risks that could pose to your animals. There are artificial colostrum products available in the market, but these vary greatly in quality. So do speak to your vet about choosing the right one. Many of them are designed to be an addition, a supplement to colostrum rather than a colostrum replacer. So don't lull yourself into false sense of security thinking that they've had colostrum when it might in fact just be a supplement. The other thing to remember if you're using artificial colostrum is that won't have the antibodies to the diseases on your farm, and it also won't have the antibodies if you've vaccinated. So if you've vaccinated against rotavirus, coronavirus, or against clostridial diseases, that powdered colostrum won't have the same antibodies that your own cows or ewes colostrum will have. Finally, it's really important to ensure that navels are treated appropriately. So the navel is a really easy open route in for infection that can track forwards to the liver or backwards to the bladder, or it can even set up a peritonitis within the abdomen. By using a product such as strong iodine, we can make sure that we dry up the navel and that there's antibacterial properties there to minimise infection. Every year through the post-mortem room we'll see calves or lambs that maybe have a splash of iodine perhaps to the side of the navel or down one leg, so that's not doing any good at all. So it's important that you take your time and do this job properly. If iodine is not available, I think there have been some supply issues, then speak to your vet about an alternative product. using antibiotic sprays is not a good idea. It's not an appropriate use of antibiotics, and it won't dry the navel sufficiently. There are other products that maybe contain chlorhexidine and alcohol that might be appropriate, but speak to your vet about the best choice. So throughout calving and lambing, make sure you remember these 3 key points of clean environment, good colostrum intake and navel treatment, and hopefully that will minimise your losses.